So, I'm poking around my new favorite hobby shop. Well, it's the only hobby shop in my area, so it has to be my favorite by default. You know, the kind where the shelves smell like cardboard, dust, and broken dreams. When I stumbled across this old Tamiya Panther A, molded way back in 1969, that's older than me, not by much. Older than disco and almost as stiff as the plastic inside. Price tag said $20, and at that point my willpower didn't even put up a fight. Straight into the basket it went. Now, I'm not just building this relic straight out of the box. Oh no, my plan is to give it the full conflict tank treatment. Sprinkle in some extra detail and basically trick it into thinking it's a modern kit. So, cracking open the box, here's what you get on the sprues. And yeah, it's pretty bare bones. Back in the day, this was actually a motorized tank kit, but sadly, no tiny electric motor is included anymore. Guess I'll have to push it around the bench, making woom boom vroom vroom noises myself. I don't do that. Detail-wise, not much to brag about, but for 1969, it's honestly not that bad. Remember, most kids back then weren't out here doing zenithal highlights or oil dot filters. They were just slapping glue on plastic, crossing their fingers, and calling it a tank. Well, unless your name was Shep Payne, in which case you were already out there weathering models like a wizard, while the rest of us were still eating paste. I remember paste. It smelled really good, paste, back then. They should bring that back. But I'll say this, it's the perfect first kit if you're just dipping your toes into the hobby. It goes together quick, painless, and gives you just enough to feel like you've accomplished something before your attention span gives out. Now, I've actually tangled with this kit before. Way back in the day, purchased from Highway Hobby, in New Jersey of all things, which is now a Planet Fitness. Boo! And let me tell you, I got ambitious. I thought, hey, I'll slap some Zimmerit on this bad boy. Make it look like the real deal. Yeah, big mistake. My Zimmerit attempt was less armored masterpiece and more like someone dropped some cake frosting on a tank. It went so badly that the poor Panther never even made it across the finish line. After a pile of frustrations and probably a few choice words, it eventually took the one-way trip to the trash can. May it rest in peace, buried under soda cans and homework. Ah yes, Zimmerit, my old horror show. I'm not running from it this time. I'm coming back with a clipboard and a vengeance. I'll give Zimmerit a serious go in this video, so stick around, enjoy the slow motion train wreck, or miracle, as it unfolds. Spoiler, one of those things is guaranteed. Now for the fun part. Conflict. It's basically World War II got into a bar fight with the future and they decided to sit down and share a pint. I don't need the full lore to be sold on it, and you had me at hello. And a railgun sounded like a fine breakfast choice, so the plan is simple. Yank out the Panther's boring old cannon and bolt on something that screams sci-fi. First order of business is to rework some of the mold seams on this Panther kit. Here is some examples of what they should look like, but keep in mind those photos are restored photos, and be sure to look at some historical references to make sure what they actually look like. My weapon of choice for this job is a little chisel set. Nothing fancy, just one of those things I snagged from that place that ships it to your door in a day, along with a pile of other impulse buys I swore I didn't need. Now, the trick is, I usually start with the chisel size smaller than I think I'll need. That way, I can carve out a nice clean groove without going full Grand Canyon on the plastic. Once that's done, I take a step back, squint at it like I'm an art critic, and if it looks like it needs more space, I just bump up the next size. Makes it a whole lot easier to work putty in later without smearing, oh that was the ice machine, it's been a while, it all over the place like cream cheese on a bagel. I miss New York bagels. Now, here's the funny part. I don't even use the chisel like a normal person would. Instead of going at it like I'm carving wood, I flip it around and use the back end to work into the groove. It gives me way more control, sorry for the hawks, and keeps me from accidentally gouging the poor panther like I'm digging for treasure. One word of caution though. If the chisel slips out, it has the nasty habit of wanting to keep going in that same direction, like it's on a mission from gravity. When this happens, don't panic. Just flip around and come at it, the hawks are at it, oh my god, from the other side to clean things up. I may have to re-record that. It's basically the modeling equivalent of turning your steering wheel the other way when you skid on ice. Except, instead of wrecking your car, you're just wrecking the 1969 plastic. When you're cleaning up the mold seams on top of the Panther or any kit you may be working on, you've got to be a little more careful. The welds up there are smaller and more delicate. Now, the seams on the sides of a tank, totally different story. You don't need to be as neat there because, spoiler alert, we're going to be adding some armor texture later in this video. So, if you slip up, don't sweat it, consider it pre-weathering, or just call it battle damage and move on. That's one of the perks of modeling tanks. Mistakes are just extra details you meant to add all along. So, let's talk flame cuts. These are the marks left behind when they were chopping up armor plates for tanks. At least that's my best guess without turning this into a history dissertation. Are the flame cuts I'm carving in as dramatic as the real thing? Probably not. Maybe a Russian tank, sure, but a German one? They were usually a bit tidier with their metalwork. That said, this is my build and I like the look of them. Once the armor texture and paint goes on, a lot of it will blend in anyway, so maybe it's not 100% accurate, but it fits my tastes and modeling style. And at the end of the day, that's what counts, because if I wanted 100% accuracy, I'd be out restoring a real panther instead of playing with plastic in my hobby room. Oh, how cool would that be to restore an actual tank? Whew. Maybe one day. With newer kits like this Ryfield King Tiger, not really need it, but with an older kit like this KB2 from Tamiya, yes, definitely need it. So here I am carving in some flame cuts, squinting at reference photos, and honestly, it's tough to tell what it really looked like, so I'm just going for it, doing my ice machine twice in my video. Alright, going for it, adding those flame cuts. When I built up the turret, I noticed there was a gap, so here I am checking some reference photos to see if it's there, but I don't think there would be a gap going into the interior of the tank. So I decided to fill it, so I do try to be as accurate as I possibly can, but in the end of the day, just have fun. Unless you like doing that sort of stuff, then that's really cool. Remember, this kit was originally designed and molded back in 1969. Sure, it probably got a few updates over the years, I think one in 1975, but don't quote me on that. Either way, the side plates never quite lined up right. You know, that annoying little overhang in the back. Yeah, that one. My solution was simple. I slapped on some strips of styrene and then sanded them down until they actually looked like they belonged there. Nothing fancy, just a little old school trickery. To make the Panther behave, sometimes the easiest fixes are the most satisfying, and you get to feel like a sculptor without the marble dust. Time to add some texture. Now, for a kit that's been around since 1969, you actually get a surprising amount of texture molded in already. Not bad for a tank older than Disco. But here's the thing. I love this step, so we're doing it anyway. Think of it as adding sprinkles on a cake that already has frosting. And now for our New England friends, think of it as adding jimmies on a cake that already has frosting. Super simple setup for this step. Just take Tamiya Basic Putty, a little Mr. S cement, and a pipette. I take a few drops of the cement and drip it onto a glob of putty, and then grab a stiff, bristled brush, the dollar store kind, works perfectly, and start applying it to the armor sections. Here's the trick. Every time you add a few drops, it activates the putty for the next pass. You've got to work fast, though, because this stuff dries quicker than bread in a toaster. Miss your timing, and suddenly you've got a hardened glob that refuses to cooperate. But when it works, oh man, that texture just makes the tank come alive. Now, a quick warning. Don't dump all the Mr. S cement in and mix it into the entire glob of putty at once. That's when you have to race like a caffeinated squirrel to get it applied before it sets. Not fun. Instead, I keep the putty in one big slow-moving lump and just add the cement drop by drop. That way, I can work at a much more relaxed pace, get further with each section, and bonus, I don't waste half the putty because it turned into a rock before I could use it. Slow and steady wins the armor textured race. While you watch me smear this armor texture on like some kind of plastic frosting, let's have a little ramble. Accuracy, huh? Well, let's be real. Most folks just build a kit straight out of the box. Totally fine. Some will get super nerdy, adding all the extra details and trying to be a walking encyclopedia of tanks. Also totally fine. At the end of the day, it's your model. You can do whatever you want with it. Not everyone has a library full of reference books. I sure don't. So I mostly rely on the internet, which is basically a never-ending rabbit hole of variants. And wait, what even is this moments? That confusion can actually be part of the fun. You dig in, figure stuff out, experiment a bit, and somehow, when it all comes together, it's ridiculously rewarding. Take this build, for example. I'm digging through historical references, trying to make it as accurate as I can. I'm tossing in extra details, fixing a few things that bug me, but honestly, I'm having a blast doing it, and that's really the heart of this hobby. Having fun while you build, paint, glue, and occasionally swear at tiny pieces of plastic. Are the flame cuts 100% accurate? I'm happy with how they look. If you aren't, that's totally fine too. We can all play this hobby at our own level. Some of us obsess over every bolt, some of us just glue things together and call it a day. Either way, we're all here for the same reason, enjoying the process. Alright, here's the turret with the armor texture slapped on. Any surfaces you still need for gluing, don't worry, you can scratch them back into the bare plastic if needed. Looking at it now, it's coming together nicely, a little fine sanding here and there, and this thing's going to start looking like a proper tank rather than a plastic blob with ambition. Zimmerit, ooh, I'm a bit nervous, but we're gonna do it. Looking at some historical photos, it was difficult to determine what pattern would have actually been used, but this is the one I am going with. Now, let's keep something in mind here. My last attempt at Zimmerit involved a soldering iron. Yeah, spoiler alert, it did not end very well. Pretty sure I invented a whole new type of battle damage that day. After that, I tried Milliput, and it was yet another disaster. I don't know if it was the new Zimmerit tool, pure stubbornness, or just blind luck, but I did it. I actually did it. For the longest time, this has been my modeling white whale, and now it finally looks the way it's supposed to. Well, almost, but I'll take the win. After years of failures, frustration, oh, that's the Hawks going at it, and one very crispy soldering iron incident, I finally pulled it off, and I got to say I'm feeling pretty darn good right now. This is the rare hobby moment where you put the tool down, lean back, and just bask in the glow of heck yeah, I nailed it. Alright, let's see if lightning can strike twice. Time to replicate what I just pulled off. For this round, I'm using Tamiya epoxy putty, the smooth type, and don't laugh, a pair of knitting needles to help spread it out. Hey, whatever works, right? Now, fair warning, this stuff is stickier than duct tape at a yard sale. It clings to everything. So, the trick is to keep some water handy to smooth it out and stop it from trying to glue itself to your fingers, tools, and probably the cat if you're not careful. I'm not totally sure I've nailed the thickness here, but the goal is simple. Keep it thin enough to look right, but thick enough that the tool actually leaves a good impression. It's a balancing act. Too thin and you've got nothing too thick and it looks like you've iced a birthday cake. Alright, a lot of birthday cakes and stuff in this video. Anyway, looking at the reference photos, the real stuff wasn't perfectly neat anyway. It's chunky, uneven, and honestly a little sloppy. So if mine comes out a bit wonky, perfect. That's actually more realistic. Sometimes good enough isn't just acceptable, it's historically accurate. Alright, just about ready for attempt number 2. Wish me luck. Later on, I'll discover that starting from the bottom actually works better. Maybe it's a real technique, or maybe it's just in my head. But hey, if it feels like it works, I'm rolling with it. Half of modeling is science, the other half is convincing yourself you know what you are doing. I know it's hard to see what's going on here. Honestly, it's hard for me to see what's going on too. Half the time, I'm just trusting the process and hoping it doesn't betray me. What I really want to do is find the next best thing for Zimmerit. I've actually got some DOS air dry clay sitting around that I've been tempted to see if it'll work. My gut tells me it will probably just flake off over time, but who knows, maybe it'll surprise me. Worst case, it crumbles and I've got a panther that looks like it got caught in a skin condition. Ugh. Best case, it works, and hey, maybe all the hawks are going again. Maybe I'll even make a video out of it. Those experimental videos don't usually do that great, but sometimes the fails are more fun than the wins. So, my plan here is to do Zimmerit with some damage and missing sections. Yeah, that's right. Chipped, scraped, knocked off in places. Totally intentional. Alright, you caught me. Part of this is just me strategically avoiding those trickier areas. But hey, this is my first real attempt at Zimmerit, so we are calling it baby steps. Besides, damaged Zimmerit looks cool, adds character, and lets me skip the parts that make me want to throw the turret across the room. A win-win in my book. So, while you watch me roll away here, let's talk. Every modeler's got their white whale. Mine, of course, was Zimmerit. This stuff haunted me for years, like Ahab chasing his Leviathan. Only with more glue fumes and fewer harpoons. Oh my god. Maybe your white whale is photo etch? I get it, those tiny brass parts that like to launch into another dimension the second you look at them wrong. Been there, conquered that on this one a while back. In fact, it was a build I linked above, which I still plan to paint soon, I hope. Yeah, I know, I'm a procrastinator with priorities. The hawks are excited right now, and honestly, it's hard to keep them out of this voiceover, since they are buzzing about their upcoming trip to the Philippines. For me, though, that means 2 weeks of glorious peace and quiet. No interruptions, no background commentary, just me, my bench, and the sweet hum of hobby time. About the only guest star you'll hear in these videos for a while will be the ice machine. And let's face it, that thing's got better comedic timing than I do anyway. Alright, I gotta hurry up and finish this voiceover. Got a pizza and some french fries in the oven, so you may hear a few dings. But here I am running the tool from the bottom to the top. And you can see the imprints come out a lot cleaner that way. But hey, that's just me. Do it however works for you. Now, what I really want is some actual books on these tanks. Yes, I said books. Those heavy paper things people used to use before Google ruined our attention spans. Would it be nice to have the proper library to pull from when you're building? Yes, the internet only gives you so many grainy photos before you start questioning if you're even looking at the right tank or somebody's cousin's farm tractor. The hawks are still buzzing around, and apparently they're packing like 20 suitcases full of goodies. Okay, not that many, but there is a lot. Any Filipinos watching will probably get why. Meanwhile, over here, the Zimmerit is actually coming along nicely. I've been working in sections each day, letting it dry before moving on. Slow and steady wins the battle. Makes me wonder why I failed so much when I was younger. Wrong tools? Lack of patience? Probably a bit of both, or maybe I just gave up too soon. Either way, I'm really glad I decided to give it another shot. Feels good to finally see it come together instead of ending up as a tragic "remember that time I tried" Zimmerit story. So here is the conflict part of this tank. I just quickly threw that together with some parts from Warhammer 40k. It looks pretty good. I am happy with it. Not exactly the railgun I was after, but I didn't have any square, Plastruct or any kind of evergreen products. But here we are. Still have a number of things to do, and this is just a basic kit. Doesn't have much detail, but the detail I added, like the weld seams and the Zimmerit, of course, does really look good, and that should make all the difference. Some of the things that I do need to do, I need to order. I'm going to order some Panzer IV tools from Tamiya and see if they'll work, and scratch build some, things to attach them to. So I need to add that, and then I also need to add engine grills, but this is such an older kit, and I'm not sure if the Panther D ones will fit or if any ones will fit, but we'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But here are some pictures of what I did so far, and I will make videos of anything else I do to it, and plus the painting. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for supporting my channel. Ooh, look at that. I love it. Supporting the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.